Welcome to Vator Reports. I'm Bambi Francisco.
And I'm Peter Thiel.
Well, today's topic is Entrepreneurial Legends on Vator TV. Peter, you know, we have received a number of videos from many famous and successful people across Silicon Valley, so it's quite fun listening to them share their views on how entrepreneurs should pitch them and share their views on lessons they've learned. And I'd like to take this opportunity to start with you. Because certainly you have tremendous amount of experience starting PayPal, of course, building up Clarium Capital, your hedge fund to $2 billion under management and maybe $10 billion by next year.
We will see.
Okay, well, let's start with PayPal, Peter. I'm sure that a lot of our viewers are going to be interested to know, how did you pitch PayPal? I mean, did you know that it was going to be, you know, a site that you were going to sell to eBay for $1.5 billion?
No, I think these sorts of pitches, you don't get them right on day one. You know, it's something you practice over and over again. And probably in the course of 1999, pitched maybe 100 different VCs in the course of the year. And so, you know, by the time you get to pitch number 100, it's significantly better and different from pitch number one.
Well, you started off, I remember us talking about this a while ago, you started, wasn't it to email money?
Well, it was initially it was sending money on Palm Pilots, then it was by cell phones, and then we shifted towards email, an email link to money in late '99. And that was what the basic service has stayed focused on really for the last you know, seven and a half years now.
Okay, so 2 lessons that you took away from that experience.
You always want to be very focused, and it's like, you know, what is it how's it working? What are you doing? For a consumer internet company, the key question is distribution. I mean, that's probably actually the only lesson one has to draw in a consumer internet context. How do you get the audience? And that was the question we spent a year trying to work on. How do you get the product to grow virally? And it turns out, well, there are, you know, 150 million people in the U.S. with email addresses. Lots of people have credit cards. They'd like to be able to send money by email. And basically, you know, it's if you have distribution, your company might be worth a small amount or a medium amount or a large amount. If you can't get distribution for a consumer-facing internet company, your company's worth approximately 0. And so solving the distribution problem is the single most underestimated challenge these businesses have.
Yeah. Would that be advice you would give to entrepreneurs if you were to give to, you know,
absolutely. This would be a absolute key piece of advice. And then I think sort of a related but somewhat separate piece would be the second key piece would be just to focus your business as precisely as you can. Don't try to do, you know, half a dozen things sort of well. Do one thing better than anybody else in the world. And again, with respect to these sorts of internet businesses, the competition is global. People can start an internet company from anywhere in the world. And so for you to do something that's really successful, you have to, in some sense, be doing something that's better than anybody else in the world. And that's not an easy thing to do. It's very valuable if you can do it, but it's not easy. And and I think it's just about impossible to do half a dozen things at the same time better than everybody else in the world when there are some of those people only trying to do one thing.
What are you looking for in a pitch?
Well, the main thing, you know, the advice to entrepreneurs is to be focused and to solve the distribution problem. The thing that we're looking for above and beyond that is to just try to get a sense of the team that's working on these companies, because that's the most critical variable. You know, there are a lot of business model questions you may not have figured out, and when you have a great team, you can change the business plan, as we did at PayPal. But even if you have the best business plan in the world, if you don't have a great team, it's very hard to fix. You generally start with a certain set of people in these companies, and if it's the wrong initial team, it never quite works. And we've seen, you know, I've seen companies where team was great, business model was awful. I've seen them where the business model was great, the team was awful, and you always want to bet on the first type with a great team and a bad business model.
Yeah. Vinod Khosla of Khosla Ventures, he also founded Sun Microsystems. He actually uploaded a video about what he looks for in entrepreneurs, and he talks a lot about teams.
Entrepreneurs build great teams, and great teams are people who think differently than them and complement their liabilities. complement them, strengthen the team, bring different points of view.
We also have a video from Mark Cuban. As you know, Mark Cuban
Yes.
founded Broadcast.com, sold that to Yahoo back in 2000 for $4 billion, something like that.
Did rather well, yes.
Did rather well. He now owns the Dallas Mavericks and HDNet, so he's betting big on HD TV. Here's his video.
But it really comes down to really two things. One, finding something you love to do. If a lot of people try to find ideas where they can make the most money first and work backwards, as opposed to finding the things they love to do and then coming to an understanding or figuring out how to make money at it.
Of course, we have Tim Draper, Draper Fisher Jurvetson, and here he's giving his advice, or he's sharing what he looks for in an entrepreneur.
I think they need to be able to lead other people so that those other people can attach themselves to that vision and help drive that vision. So a good entrepreneur is not just the visionary, but also has to be very good at convincing others of that vision.
Now, I saw you give a speech honoring Milton Friedman last year in San Francisco. How did he influence you?
Well, I think certainly his whole sort of approach to economics and his philosophy about individual choice and individual liberty as being the drivers of an economy and of what makes a society a good society. Certainly one of the ideas that's I think very important is that everybody's life is special and different, and you should try to do something important with it.
But he also said something, and I remember you mentioning this, that if 99 of the people in the room, if there's 100 and they disagree with you, that's okay. Stick with your gut.
Well, if you're right, it definitely is the case that all the great entrepreneurial opportunities, all the great investment opportunities, always have a contrarian element. If everybody already knew that something was going to be great, it would be fully priced in, and there wouldn't be a great opportunity. And it's like things go from being weird and really far out to being kind of cool and just ahead of the curve to being completely normal. And you want to be sort of in the cool zone. You don't want to be in the normal zone.
I wrote a piece about the late Milton Friedman, and I said that he was an economic entrepreneur. In many ways, he was an entrepreneur as well, don't you think?
Absolutely. He clearly rehabilitated and addressed a whole set of questions in economics that other people were not asking, and it ended up really reframing things. It was sort of very basic foundational questions. It was not sort of like another small wrinkle on Keynesian economic theory. It was going back and foundationally asking questions about the nature of money and things like that. And I think that's the same way in which entrepreneurialism is often different from the professional stuff. It's just something that's actually quite orthogonal. It's not that you take some technology that's been developed and just improve it a tiny little bit. Mm-hmm. It's often you're combining things in ways no one would ever thought to combine them, and creating something that's really different.
Oh, well, I'm going to wrap it up.
Cool.
That's it for this show. What we'll leave you with now is some more interesting entrepreneurial lessons from the videos we found on Vator.
I don't think a company is going to end up being a good company unless you have to be in the right place at the right time. You have to have a really solid idea. You have to have really clever strategies. Mm-hmm. And I think even I would say if you rank what it takes for a venture guy to put money into something, probably number one is the climate right for this type of investment.
Really learning how to handle stress. A big part of this is really staying in it for the long haul. That this, building companies is a 5-10 year, marathon, and it's going to be very up and down as far as the stress level that you're going to be under. None of which, of course, you can show to anybody, particularly your employees or your investors. And one day, it's going to be like I'm taken out to be executed, only to be released moments later to have a spectacular banquet in your favor.
Anything that has been done can be done better. There's no area which is perfect. When Nike started making shoes, people had been making shoes for thousands of years, and yet they built a very successful shoe company. So if you really focus on something and understand the customer, you can be the best at it.
You know, you just got to remember, I mean, you hear it over and over again about persistence and persistence and persistence and just never ever giving up in what you believe. And, you know, you'll go through many times where you'll be pitching to some company or some VC, and they're not going to get it, so to speak, or they're not going to buy off on it, and they're going to point out all the reasons why you won't be successful. And the fact of the matter is there's a million reasons why you won't be successful, but that doesn't matter because there's a million reasons why you will be successful as well. And you just have to stay true to what you really believe in and your vision, and just don't ever give up.